Hey, welcome, you guys. This week's message is a super fun one to share together. And it is about being together because this one is about telepathy. And I know we've been talking about it as like this thing about the new consciousness and where we are headed. But amazing message that came in from Isla this week, the mother of creation. She's the mother of all souls. She said that right now there is a configuration in the sky that is indicating that we are right now opening up to using this new or expanding into this capability like this month, like it's starting here. So in this message, he's going to walk us through it, let us know what we might be experiencing, how it might feel, and how it might progress over time. So yay! Welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you're here. And for anyone who's new, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel, which means I go into a deep meditative state or trance, and then I channel messages that come in I channel the angels, and I channel Isla, the mother of creation. As I said, she's the mother of all souls. And anyways, and my format, I channeled the message yesterday. So I will first share the recording of that message. And sometimes when you hear it, sometimes when you're listening to her channeling, it's difficult to focus on the words. If that's you, just let it flow through you. The frequencies are wonderful. And then afterwards, we break it down. We talk through the whole message. So you want to stick around for that part because we go a lot deeper. We talk about all of the different themes. It's a way for us to really integrate and get the most out of the messages that are coming through. So first the original channeling and then the breakdown afterwards. So, and now as we are getting ready to talk about ways we connect, right, through telepathy, I want to let you know that the Expand Your Heart retreat, my big annual retreat, is officially coming, you guys. It's going to be the weekend of October 16th. I think 16th is the right weekend. And it is now officially, you can get your spot if you want to come. So you guys, this is one of the most fun things that I do. And this is our third year having it in this location. We have it at a gorgeous lodge, and it's in Seattle, Washington. And it's very close to the airport, believe it or not, even though it's on like a 16-acre wetlands preserve. So we're surrounded by nature, but you don't have to rent a car, which is so nice. You can literally catch a shuttle right to the lodge. And it's gorgeous. You have beautiful hotel rooms, the whole thing. And for the retreat, we're in this amazing room that is soundproof, which is so unusual in a hotel situation, which is one of the reasons why I love this place. And that's one of the reasons I keep having it there. And that's why I'm keeping the retreat the size that it is so that we can fit in this room. But consequently, because we're holding it to that size, the retreat will sell out. And I just want to let you know that it did sell out last year, about 2 months in advance. So just what I wanted to let you know, in case you would love to be there this year, don't wait. Tickets are available now, and it's an amazing experience of connection. You are with your soul family. You're meeting a bunch of new friends. We deliberately orchestrate the retreat in such a way that you will meet friends. Most people come on their own, other than there are many people who come who made friends the previous year. So it was so fun last year when I saw people who I'd met the previous year at the retreat, and they were sitting together, and I found out that they had made such a close friendship that they're like in regular communication, the whole rest of the year. They're now part of each other's lives. So, and there was lots of this happening, but that's part of what makes this retreat awesome. So it's a healing retreat. Well, I channel Isla multiple times a day. We call it Eat, Pray, Love, because we have the food is all vegetarian or vegan. So there's lots of gluten-free and dairy-free options if that's for you, and it helps us to stay in our high vibe. And then, so we do great food, and then we do channeling. We bring in Isla. We have amazing messages and healing that come through. And then we have social time, open time together, and time to relax. So we kind of weave it throughout the day. So it's a lot of intensive time together and intensive work together with Isla and with our healing. But it's over the course of the weekend, the vibe just gets higher and higher and higher. So yeah, it's so much fun. So I hope you can come. I'd love to have you there. And I just want to let you know, I know it's early, but it's a great time to plan. It's a great time to get airline tickets, because airline prices are going up, and it's a good time to do it now. So I hope to see you there. All right, take a breath. And if you are ready, let's listen to the original channeling. Blessed beings, we are together once again. And we are speaking today not on subjects that you are anticipating, on something out of this point of reference. I wish to begin showing you a new circumstance that you will be experiencing, something outside of what has already been, a new suggestion of tomorrow. There are constellations taking place in your sky that bring forward new possibilities, that reflect from within you the doorways that you have opened. And through these doorways, you shall begin experiencing one another in a new way. The edges are sharpening of your perceptions. The suggestibility in your heart space is becoming more vocalized. There are circumstances wherein you shall find yourselves opening to one another in a scope of communication that is beyond where you've been. What this might feel like is a through line of perception, as if you are integrating your own thoughts with another's, as if a conversation is happening beyond real time, in a spaciousness beyond the now, although it can only take place in the now. It will feel as if it is outside of your normal perceptions, as if you have drifted away somewhere new to find something from within yourself that is a reflection of your friend. These conversing's will erupt spontaneously, as if you are listening with new ears and communicating with a new mouth, as if all parts of you are opened to this new pose of communicating, as if you are all at once attuned to each other in a new way, with these new vocal cords that need no resonance to perform. Each of you in equal parts may be suggestible for this to happen, or it can happen to one person alone. You may find yourself in a dialogue with someone and begin hearing things that are unspoken, hearing words and pronouncements that are not audibly made. And this will be more commonly your focus. There will be times where it will occur that you are conversing with someone who is equally sharpened, and they may, without being audibly heard, begin conversing with you in this new form and format. The types of conversations that you will be having are not the same. It will be not in the same structure of a sentence with a noun and a verb. It shall indeed be a play within a play. It shall be a soul song, a frequency that is communicated into transparency, and your own perception of it shall be from within the vocalizations of your own experience. Thus, you will capture the fragrance of another person and interpret that fragrance according to your own words and meanings. You may indeed hear a voice and hear their pronouncements of what they are feeling, but they have not said anything. You have instead received a frequency which you are interpreting in accordance with your own internal rules and bounds. This is not so different from how your auditory hearing works. What your ears perceive are not formal words, they are frequencies, and the brain is what interprets those frequencies into words. Thus, you are doing the same with what you are perceiving telepathically. It does not come to you in a format of sentence or word. It comes as frequency. And you, within your own self and soul, interpret that frequency according to your own words. What you shall hear shall at times be the fullness of someone. It shall be a thought that they repeat from inside, as if it has never been heard, and you are the first to hear it. There shall be times when you are in communion with another, having a conversation beyond words, and you shall hear something more lengthy and triumphantly expressed, something meant to be interpreted according to your own voice. These shall be more of a merging and a blending between your energy fields. These shall come in time as you are increasingly accomplished in this form of dialoguing with one another. There shall be an enmeshing that occurs that broadens your capacity to hear one another. And when this happens, what needs interpretation shall be more examinable. It shall come upon you more as a feeling and a knowing, and it shall not need the same degree of interpretation. There shall be an instantaneous transfer of awareness that occurs beyond words, beyond sound, beyond the letters with which you have been enabled to speak. Therefore, you shall begin experiencing degrees of this sharpening. As I said in the beginning, you may find yourself enmeshed in the hearing of a person's unspoken voice, and it shall land upon you as a frequency to be interpreted, and you shall hear a string or a series of words, sometimes repetitively, as if a sound inside of that person is struggling to get out. And over time, as you move gradually into greater degrees of comfort with telepathic communication, you shall discover yourself enmeshed in one another's vibration by your own choosing. And in so doing, the harmonious understanding that can take place is far beyond what you currently have access to. It shall be a formation in your own field of another's true expression. And there is no space between you. Therefore, misinterpretations are no longer possible. It can be as if you have felt the truth of another being, and they have felt your truth. And this shared experience can become intoxicating. It can feel as if you have secured a place within humanity at last, that you are no longer voyaging on the fringes of a great world that does not understand you. It shall feel as if you are solidly experiencing what it is to be living and to be sharing a world together. This fruition of this next cycle of embodiment brings you closer and closer to a dialogue with the divinity inside of yourselves. It grows within you a capacity for feeling, knowing, and perceiving beyond words, of exacerbating your own sensitivities to others and to yourselves. It grows within you greater degrees and capacities for expression and for knowledge. This is a stepping stone on your pathway to a new biology, to a new expression of humanity, to the expression and extension beyond the genome that you currently are aware of. You shall have at the beckoning abilities that you cannot currently fully comprehend. And this is coming. But in the beginning, I would encourage yourselves to be open to the hearing of the sometimes small and the sometimes focused voice of another being, unspoken, repeating, and cataloging within your own mind these occurrences as something meaningful, as something of a whisper of what is to come. This is only the beginning of what is happening from within each of you. You are stretching yourselves into a greater expression for humanity than has yet been felt. And I am delighted for you. I bless you and say thank you and goodbye. So, isn't that exciting, you guys? Yes, right? I know, I'm so excited. Yeah. And Judith says, what a beautiful equinox message, greater levels of unity and emotional expression. Yes, yes. Abel says, I have been experiencing this lately. Phenomenal. I love it. Wow, wow, wow. And Chris says, it sounds like I need to work on quieting my mind so I can hear these telepathic communications. And you have an autistic daughter. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing to be able to communicate that way? Yes. So, so cool. And then I also have to add in, Mark says, no longer having to search for the words to express oneself, freedom from dialogue, right? So I was so excited about this message because I love that she's telling us, like, we have been talking about this possibility of telepathy, but I feel like she's really breaking it down and making it something that we can understand. So we'll know sort of when it first starts to happen, what it's going to feel like, and then over time, what it'll happen like, how it will develop, and then also what it's going to mean for us in the long run. So yeah, very, very exciting message. And there's a lot to unpack too as we go through it. So I'm super excited to spend time with it. So let me just take a look and see what you're saying. Completely had this happen with my adult son yesterday. Patty, that is so cool. I love it. I was just telling people that I had, I think I mentioned it last Friday Live, that in my life, I've only had a handful of truly telepathic experiences where it was clearly telepathic, and they were all with my daughter before. And in the past year, I had like 5 or 6 very clearly telepathic experiences. So that is like a 5x, right? If you look at the whole rest of my life, and just in 1 year, I had so many more experiences. So clearly this is coming in for us. But what is she's telling us here is that we are currently at a tipping point, that we have reached a place where this is going to be something that, and it sounds like many of you right now are starting to have similar experiences, which is so incredible. Yeah, you're saying, yeah, it happened with your adult son yesterday. Just amazing, amazing. And Ivana wants to hear the trees and the animals. So that was one of my telepathic experiences, which I heard. I think I told you guys I'd gone to the plant nursery and I had bought all these little teeny tiny ferns, and I had like tons of them. My whole car had flats of these little ferns in my car. And I, all of a sudden, out of the blue, I could hear them singing. And it was distinctive, like it was unmistakable, blew my mind. And I was like, can that be what I'm hearing? So I literally turned it off. Like I started not paying attention to it. And then I came back and it was still there and I could still hear it. It was literally like a sound. It was a voice, but it was not a voice. It was a frequency, and it sounded like joy. I was like, oh, well, I felt great. I thought, oh, they're happy to come be in my garden. It was so amazing. So amazing. So yeah, we can talk to plants and but it's this concept of frequencies. So very different, I think, from how we have verbal conversation. And yes, of course, this brings forward, you guys are mentioning the telepathy tapes, absolutely brings that forward, that in autistic communities, we're finding out that children who are nonverbal have been meeting and communicating with one another telepathically this whole time, So it is part of our capacity, but now it sounds like we are getting to a space where it's going to start happening for all of us, that we all have this capacity inside of us. So let's go ahead and break down the message and talk it through, because I feel like there's a lot to uncover and to let this really sink in, because I feel like we need to be ready for it so that we can appreciate it and know it, because some of it is in the listening, like me and the ferns, is that when I was not paying attention, I could block it out. But if I went back to listen, I could hear it. And so that being aware is gonna matter in this process. Same thing like when I thought about other telepathic, sometimes I've gotten telepathic, it's been like voices, other times it's been images, and it would have been really, really easy for me to dismiss them, to not pay attention, to just be like, oh, that was just a brain fart. That would be really easy to do. So I think that's part of the reason why this message is so important, because I think we want to fine tune our awareness and not be necessarily, I think if it's I think it may be like a watched pot that might not ever boil. Like I don't think we want to be squeezing it so hard that we're like waiting for it, but try to stay in that loose state of open receptivity is how I would describe it. To let it, to just be listening and more generally, more openly, trying to be present. I guess that's what I would say. Be present is going to be our best way to let this sort of information come into us. All right. So breaking it down. First paragraph, she said, "Blessed beings, we are together once again, and we are speaking today not on subjects that you are anticipating, on something out of this point of reference. I wish to begin showing you a new circumstance that you will be experiencing, something outside of what has already been, a new suggestion of tomorrow." So beautiful way to introduce this topic. Out of this point of reference, she says that this is, so telepathy is something that we don't have a way to reference in our current way of being. Right. And it's that idea that it is a suggestion of tomorrow. So even as this begins in the beginning, it is a suggestion of much bigger things to come. So even when it first happens, we're going to be like, every time it's happened to me, my mind has been so blown. I've been so excited. But she's saying, yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. And that's not even it. Like, that's just the first step. That's just, you're starting to develop this. And over time, it's going to become much more, much more. So it's a suggestion of tomorrow. So I love that. Next paragraph, she says, there are constellations taking place in your sky that bring forward new possibilities that reflect from within you the doorways that you have opened. Okay, so I had to go in and look, because I have not been keeping super huge tabs on the astrology of this month, to be honest. So I Googled it and was like, is there anything going on this month affecting like Mercury and communication? And like, was there anything going on in the sky? And what I got back was super cool. So I just screenshot it. So the first thing I got is that, you guys know Mercury was retrograde, and it is now going direct. So that's the first thing. Mercury going direct like this, like tomorrow, I think is it already direct? But the big thing is that so it says, when Mercury, the planet of communication and the mind, joins the North Node at 8 degrees Pisces, the synthesis is rich. The messenger planet aligns with the collective destiny point at a degree symbolizing a call to awaken through communication, all within the sign of spiritual unity and compassion. So 8, the North Node is destiny, right? That is where humanity is heading. The 8th degrees of the North Node, the 8th degrees in the Serbian symbol for the 8th degrees is a woman or girl blowing a trumpet, like a call to awaken. And it's communication as well, right? And a new form of communication is music. It's a form of communication. So, so Mercury, the planet of communication, is going to be conjoining the North Node, which is our destiny. So destined communication and a call to awakening, right? All happening. So, and this is all happening and so what's interesting is this conjoining between the North Node and Mercury is happening like 3 times, but like the main, it's like exact, which is where it's its most potent tomorrow. Right? Saturday is the day when it's like kapow. And so it doesn't mean that if like we're after tomorrow, whatever, it means that this is the doors open, is what she's trying to say, that this right now is when we are receiving this. It's really a notification. She says it's a reflection of our own state of consciousness that this is happening now to show us that we have opened the door, which is so exciting. So, and then there was a little bit more to this. Let me see if I can get it. Hold on. I think I got one more piece of it. 8 degrees of Pisces is a girl blowing a bugle. The theme is awakening, preparation, and spiritual duty. Significance: it serves as a call to stand up and announce a new phase, or to be a herald for a new higher way of being. So yeah, So amazing, right? So I had no idea. And so cool to get this message, knowing we're literally smack this week. Like this week is when this is happening. So this door is opening for us. All right. So then she says, so that's the constellation she's referencing that's taking place. And then, and through these doorways, you shall begin experiencing one another in a new way. The edges are sharpening of your perceptions. The suggestibility in your heart space becomes more vocalized. There are circumstances wherein you shall find yourselves opening to one another in a scope of communication that is beyond where you've been. So here is what's interesting about how she's describing this process of telepathy to us is she is doing her best to talk about dancing, right? She's doing her best to try to describe to us how this is going to feel. And one of the things she's saying here that will begin experiencing each other in a new way. First, she uses the term sharpening several times. So it's almost like our usual way of perceiving, but it's like all of a sudden we can perceive finer and finer degrees of things. So when a knife is dull, it cuts, but it doesn't cut that well. When it's sharp, it can glide through something, right? It can cut deeper. So we are sharpening our perceptions. We're becoming more perceptive. So we don't lose our other five senses. We're just all of a sudden sharpening our five by adding a sixth. So, and then she says, the suggestibility in your heart space is becoming more vocalized. So the way I understand this from what she says, and we'll see as we go through the rest of the message, but one of the ways I understand this shift is that I feel like it's moving from listening with our brain, with our head, to listening with our heart. And I think that is the difference. And I think that's why it makes it, Antonio's giving me a nod. You know what I'm talking about. You probably feel it, right? And I think that is the difference. And it's like starting to waken up this organ, this part of ourselves, this chakra, as a way of interacting with one another rather than interacting through the perception and the interpretation of our mind space. So she talks about this more as we go, but let's kind of put a pin in that thought, the idea that we'll be listening with our heart, and then see how that fits with the rest of the message. She says, there are circumstances wherein you shall find yourselves opening to one another in a scope of communication that is beyond where you've been. So next paragraph, she says, what this might feel like is a through line of perception, as if you are integrating your own thoughts with another's, as if a conversation is happening beyond real time, in a spaciousness beyond the now, although it can only take place in the now. It will feel as if it is outside of your normal perceptions, as if you have drifted away somewhere new to find something from within yourself that is a reflection of your friend. Okay, so breaking this paragraph down. So she says that as if you are integrating your own thoughts with another. And so it's a through line of perception. So what I'm getting from this is that we are needing to decode frequencies. So this isn't a situation where we experience in the beginning. It's not an experience where we experience someone as they are. It's a little bit the same as how like a TV signal would be broadcast. That it starts out as like a video, and then it turns into frequencies that transmitted through the air. And then when it arrives at your TV, the TV has to decode those signals back into video. And the degree to which your TV is able to decode the video is going to depend on the capabilities of your TV. So you could have a broadcaster, who's sending a video signal, and that video signal could be super HD and it could be smell-o-vision, it could have all this stuff. And then it comes across this frequency through the air, and then your TV receives it, and you've got like a little black and white, and you get no smell and you get no color, but you still get the basics. You get the basics, but you're not getting the whole picture because this is the capability of the TV, right? So when we, in the beginning phases, as we are having these interactions, we're still transmitting through frequency and receiving. We're not yet, what she describes later is we will get to a stage where we merge. And that's going to be a whole nother level. So it's like, this is the first step towards this deeper understanding of each other. This is the first steps of our heart listening. So in this first step, she says that we will receive what another person is transmitting with our heart, but it'll have to come into our understanding. So we will have to interpret it in our own frame of reference. So the metaphors that we see are going to be related to our own life. The words that we hear are going to be words that we understand, right? It's going to fit into our TV box. So if we've got color, it's going to have color. If we don't have color, it's not going to have color. Does that make sense? So this is the first part, is that it's that idea that we are in this first phase of this experience, we are overlapping our experience with another person's experience and trying to decode a frequency they've transmitted with our heart, in the same way that our ears currently, our brain decodes what our ears receive as frequency. So, and she talks about that too, that our ears do this now. So then she goes on to say, and she, at the end of it, she says that it is a reflection of your friend. She says that as if you have drifted away somewhere new to find something from within yourself that is a reflection of your friend. And she means your conversational partner right there. But so that's that idea that as you're receiving the frequency, you're going to be trying to feel, is there something inside of you that can reflect what it is that your conversational partner is transmitting. And that's how we will understand it. And that's how we'll perceive it. So it's a very interesting idea. All right. So the next paragraph, she says, these conversing will erupt spontaneously as if you are listening with new ears and communicating with a new mouth. And that has definitely been my experience, as I so far have had no control over it. Zero. Every single time it's happened, it wasn't because I was trying to make it happen. As a matter of fact, my daughter has tried, and we sat in the same room together, and she tried to send me messages. It never worked. But when nobody's trying, then all of a sudden it comes out of nowhere. So it's in the beginning spontaneous, as if you are listening with new ears and communicating with a new mouth, as if all parts of you are opened to this new pose of communicating. And I think this gets to the heart piece, right? As if all parts of you are opened to this new pose of communicating, as if you are all at once attuned to each other in a new way with these new vocal cords that need no resonance to perform. So it's like whole body listening. And to me, that says presence. That says being super present in the moment. And that means listening with whole body listening to what's happening around you, being really, really present. Okay, next paragraph. Each of you in equal parts may be suggestible for this to happen, or it can happen to one person alone. So in other words, you could be talking with someone and you could start getting all kinds of telepathic information from them, and they might have no awareness of it. So it could be two-way where you're both getting it, or it could be one way where you're getting it and they're not. They're saying you may find yourself in a dialogue with someone and begin hearing things that are unspoken, hearing words and pronouncements that are not audibly made. And this will be more commonly the focus. So this has happened to me when I've been listening to someone speak, and then I started hearing a second track above what they were saying. And the second track was louder than the words coming out of their mouth. So, and that's happened to me a couple times so far. And I've tried to make it happen again, and I can't, but it did happen twice. And so clear that I could almost not hear what they were saying with their mouth because the other track was so loud, which is amazing. It was amazing. So there will be times where it will occur that you are conversing with someone who is equally sharpened, and they may, without being audibly heard, begin conversing with you in this new form and format. So that's amazing, right? If you get in a conversation with somebody else in this group, and you start passing stuff back and forth. If anybody starts talking telepathically during this conversation, let us know. But yeah, amazing, be amazing. All right, next paragraph. She says the types of conversations that you will be having are not the same. It will be not in the same structure of a sentence with a noun and a verb. It shall indeed be a play within a play. It shall be a soul song, a frequency that is communicated into transparency. So this, what does she mean? A play within a play, and it's not like a sentence, like a noun and a verb. So in other words, sometimes we will receive telepathic communication, and it's not going to be like the way that we receive with our ears, where we hear words. That she says that in times it'll be a play within a play. So think of that like living in our reality is being in a play. Like we're having an experience. It's very immersive. We're really in it, and we are like actors in the play of our life. But when we have this telepathic communication, it will be a play within a play. So it will be an experience like living. It will be a full-bodied communication, is what she's trying to say. So it will be like in the same way that being alive in our reality feels like this totally immersive experience. telepathy has the potential to be a very immersive experience where we are perceiving another person in a multi-sensory way. So like a play inside of a play. Kind of a cool way of thinking about it, isn't it? I thought that was cool description. And then she says, and your own perception of it shall be from within the vocalizations of your own experience. So in other words, in this stage, we will still be decoding what we receive based on our own understanding. So it will come in as metaphors, as images that relate to our lives. And it won't mean that, like, so for example, I'll give you an example. Like one of the things that happened early on in my channeling, I was I relied on my clairvoyance a lot, and I would receive messages visually. And sometimes if I was trying to understand like about a person, I would be shown someone I used to know, like a guy I knew in high school. I would get a visual of this guy I knew in high school. And that wasn't because the person I was reading knew the same guy, right? It wasn't like, oh my gosh, you know Dan too. Isn't that funny? I know. It wasn't that. It was that there was something about that guy I knew in high school that this person, whatever I associated with that person, then with the person I knew in high school, whatever quality they had that I remember the most, the person I'm reading also has that quality. And so it gave me a shortcut that was related to my life and my understanding to help me be able to extract information very quickly related to the person I was reading. So I could say, okay, I'm seeing this guy from high school. That means that you are, really sweet, but kind of shy and socially awkward. Right? That's what I know about you. Boom, done. And that would be because I would see this visual of this person I used to know. Who was that? But it will be like that where we use our own experience to decode in the beginning. And it's like a slow, if you can think of it as like we're trying to mesh our reality with another person's reality. And in the beginning, we overlap. It's not a full acceptance. It's just an overlap where there's still space in between and we still have to decode. We can't just fully mesh in with them and experience it from the inside out like we will in the future. So she goes on to say, thus, you will capture the fragrance of another person and interpret that fragrance according to your own words and meanings. You may indeed hear a voice and hear their pronouncements of what they are feeling, but they have not said anything. You have instead received a frequency, which you are interpreting in accordance with your own internal rules and bounds. So that's what's actually coming across is pure frequency. Then she says, this is not so different from how your auditory hearing works. What your ears perceive are not formal words, they are frequencies, and the brain is what interprets those frequencies into words. Thus, you are doing the same with what you are perceiving telepathically. It does not come to you in a format of sentence or word. It comes as frequency, and you, within your own self and soul, interpret that frequency according to your own words. So this is in the beginning how we will most likely be experiencing this. Next paragraph, she says, what you shall hear shall at times be the fullness of someone. It shall be thought that they repeat from inside, as if it has never been heard, and you are the first to hear it. And that is beautiful. So I think, and then she says, and then she goes deeper in the paragraph. But so this first way that we might be perceiving things, this is what happened to me when I was listening to someone speak, and what I heard, it was almost like a cry from their heart. And it was like something that their heart felt that they have not been able to express. And it came out, and it was almost like an emotional release where because I could hear it and be the witness, it came out. It was like repeating itself over and over and over and over and over again, because there was all this energy there to come out. So I love that she says that it shall be thought that they repeat from inside as if it has never been heard before, and you are the first to hear it. Right? So sometimes we might experience it like that. And that's definitely what happened for me. And it was full of emotion. And it felt like in the listening that there was an emotional release from the heart space. So it is this, and this is what brings me to the idea that it's a heart, we're listening with our hearts. So then she says, there shall be times when you are in communion with another, having a conversation beyond words, and you shall hear something more lengthy and triumphantly expressed. So this is when we start to go deeper. She says, something meant to be interpreted according to your own voice. These shall be more of a merging and a blending between your energy fields. These shall come in time as you are increasingly accomplished in this form of dialoguing with one another. So there'll be this deeper form of integration of hearing another person where we don't have as much interpretation. It's a merging and a blending, but that comes once we've kind of gotten good at this first stage. Then she says, next paragraph, she says, and this is eventually we will get to this next stage here, which she talks about. She says, there shall be an enmeshing that occurs that broadens your capacity to hear one another. And when this happens, what needs interpretation shall be more examinable. It shall come upon you more as a feeling and knowing, and it shall not need the same degree of interpretation. There shall be an instantaneous transfer of awareness that occurs beyond words, beyond sound, beyond letters with which you have been able to speak. So this is where we're going to get to. So we'll start off with the overlap where we still have a gap and we still have to interpret what we're receiving. And then eventually we'll get to this depth of connection with another person where we literally mesh our fields together and we will be able to experience what they have experienced as if we experience ourselves. So it'll be that whole body sensation, right? A whole body listening, but an instantaneous transfer of awareness, right? And so it's like bypassing all our filters. And so in very first person. So the only time I've experienced this is with Isla. Is the some of the times when I channel Isla, particularly in the beginning when I first started channeling Isla, and she's the one who gave us this message. She didn't speak to me in the beginning. She showed me things. And in the beginning, she showed me visions. And then once I got to the space where I understood that she was a mother, then she took me into a space where I all of a sudden had this enmeshing with her, and I could see what she experienced and what she felt. And it was a whole body listening where I understood in the same way that you would be inside your own body. Like inside your own body right now, you have a ton of different sensory inputs. Like you know what you're thinking about, and you also know what you're feeling, and you also know how your body feels. You also have all of your memories. You have everything, right? You have it's like if you were like looking at a control panel of navigating you, there would be like so many monitors and buttons. It would be nuts because you have all this information available to you, what you think, what you feel, what you remember, everything all coming together. And that was what it was like having this degree of mesh with Isla when she communicates with me that way. And yes, I'm seeing a vision, but I'm seeing it from her eyes. So before I had that enmeshing, she was showing me visions and I was looking in at a picture and I was still me. When she meshed with me, I could see and feel, and I was still me, but I was me looking out from inside of her. So I was still aware of the separation between, it's not like I became her, but it was like I could try her on for a minute and feel everything. It was as if I was her, right? Like we've got our actors in the group. Matthew was probably in here, one of our actors, and he knows what it is to try on a role and to try to embody someone that you're not, and to feel and think and see and be that person. And that's what it felt like. So I think that's where we will get to, is a degree of an instantaneous transfer of awareness, as she says, where it's this really, really deep communication. So then she goes on to say, therefore, you shall begin experiencing degrees of this sharpening. As I said in the beginning, you may find yourself enmeshed in the hearing of of a person's unspoken voice, and it shall land upon you as a frequency to be interpreted. And you shall hear a string or series of words, sometimes repetitively, which is what happened for me, as if a sound inside of that person is struggling to get out. I love that. I think that is so powerful because literally in that moment, if this happens, just by listening, you are helping that person to heal. Right? Just by hearing their heart speak, you're helping them heal, which is just amazing. And then next paragraph, and over time, as you move gradually into greater degrees of comfort with telepathic communication, you shall discover yourself enmeshed in one another's vibration by your own choosing. And in so doing, so in the beginning right now, she says it's going to erupt spontaneously. We have no control over it right now. It's just going to happen like a sneeze. And it's just going to come out of nowhere. And then over time, we will choose when we want to connect and how deeply we want to connect, which is probably for the best, right? And then she says, and in so doing, the harmonious understanding that can take place is far beyond what you currently have access to. It shall be a formation in your own field of another's true expression, and there is no space between you. All right, so this next paragraph, I put a great big pink exclamation point on the whole paragraph. I think this is really cool. So she says, therefore, misinterpretations are no longer possible. Think about that. Like, imagine that. Haven't there been times in your life where people have heard you and through their own wounding and heard things you never said, and then you couldn't for the life of you tell them, I didn't mean that. And it doesn't seem to hurt. Like no matter how much you say, I would never say that, it doesn't seem to erase their pain. You know what I mean? Or their frustration or their anger, because they heard it through their wounding. But in this new reality, right, misinterpretations like that, not possible. So just, I mean, like, amazing to think about that. I'm so excited about that. It was a time in my life where I felt so misunderstood, so deeply misunderstood, and it was part of my wounding. But I used to like to read books that were like, I still am a huge Jane Austen fan. And then I read all these like derivative books of Jane Austen. And I was reading a lot like that. And the reason was because in all of those books, there was a really clear narrative about who was the hero or the heroine and who were the bad guys. There was the narrator was like God, and my word, I just please use yours, but the narrator was like God, and there was like a perspective. And you always knew, like when Elizabeth Bennet is talking, you always know that, like she's being who she is. There's no confusion about what she says because there's this narrator that makes everything like truth. You know what I mean? And I used to read these books wishing that my life had that much clarity, because I felt like whatever was coming out of my mouth, I felt misunderstood. And I felt like I just need a narrator to come in here and make everything make sense. Luckily, I am no longer in that wounding, because that was a very difficult time of my life. Yeah, really, really, it was a really tough relationship is what it was. All right. So then, so therefore misinterpretations are no longer possible. It can be as if you have felt the truth of another being and they have felt your truth. And this shared experience can become intoxicating. It can feel as if you have secured a place within humanity at last, that you are no longer voyaging on the fringes of a great world that does not understand you. It shall feel as if you are solidly experiencing what it is to be living and to be sharing a world together. And that is, I think, I had to put the big pink exclamation mark on that one, because to me that is, I think, all on some level we can all relate to that feeling of feeling like we're on the fringes. Those of us, all of us who are attracted to this type of experience, like, talking to angels and talking to Isla and channeling and all this kind of stuff. Like, you guys are old souls, and old souls don't always fit in elementary school. We don't always fit in high school. That often we feel really misunderstood and we feel like we are on the fringes. And it's like the concept of belonging is a tough one for us. And I think it's probably common in a lot of humanity, but I sometimes wish to be more normal, more less like I am and more fit inable. And I think that's something that we can all relate to on some level. And I think in this situation of telecommunication, I think we finally will feel like that you have secured a place within humanity at last. Like that there's no more space between us and other people, that we will feel heard and we will feel like we really connect to other people in a meaningful way, that there's no more misinterpretations about what we say or what we feel. As if you are solidly experiencing what it is to be living and sharing a world together. Right. So there is a narrator after all. There is a truth that we can all start to live by, but the truth is defined not by an external source, but by each of us individually. And it's just that our truth becomes heard by others. So yeah, amazing. Just amazing. Okay, next paragraph, she says, this fruition of this next cycle of embodiment brings you closer and closer to a dialogue with the divinity inside of yourselves. So this is, as always with spirit, it's a pathway to a pathway to a pathway, right? It's the Russian dolls. There's a big doll and there's another doll inside and another doll inside, and it just keeps on expanding internally. And so yes, we're going to go from the place where we have the overlap, right? Where we're in the beginning, where we're overlapping and interpreting. And then finally, we will get to the space where we're meshing with another person and feeling what it is to be them and understanding at this deep level. And then that is a bridge to then having that same relationship inside of ourselves. So it starts on the outside, right? And then it moves to the inside where we begin to have that same degree of fluency with spirit inside of us. She says, it grows within you a capacity for feeling, knowing, and perceiving beyond words, of exacerbating your own sensitivities to others and to yourselves. It grows within you a greater degrees and capacities for expression and knowledge. So yeah, so just awesome. And I think that is thinking about that, about how that might enrich our experience of living, that sense of like having a connection to all that is, immediate telepathic communication where there's nothing standing between you and your guides, where you can hear in the same way you can telepathically communicate with the people outside of you. We will start to be able to have this even open flow of communication with spirit, yeah, thank you. I want that. Thank you very much. I would like that right now. So this fruition of this next cycle of embodiment brings you closer. Oh, I already read that part. Next paragraph. This is a stepping stone on your pathway to a new biology. Here it gets interesting. To a new expression of humanity, to the expression and extension beyond the genome that you currently are aware of. So we've been hearing in certain, there's a lot of people in our spiritual circles that have been talking about new gene activation, or honestly, I know it's out there. I haven't read it. I haven't looked at it because I try not to. There's so many amazing sources of connection that are out there that are sharing their gifts, but I don't listen to a lot of other channels because I want to make sure I'm not influenced, that I'm trying to just listen to my own connection and let flow through what flows through. But I know there are people out there talking a lot about gene activations and stuff like that. And but I had to look up genome, Genome, and I looked it up, and it's like the whole system of genes. It's not one gene. It's like the whole system of genes that we have that makes a person. It's like the description of yourself is the genome, makes up what you are. You have a genome that makes up your whole expression of a person that contains all the genes within it. And so she says that this is a stepping stone. This telepathy is a stepping stone on your pathway to a new biology, to a new expression of humanity, to the expression and extension beyond the genome that you are currently aware of. So we're going to be getting some new genes in our genome, is what it sounds like. We're activating new genes, getting new genes, something like that. And I know this is confirming what other people have channeled. I just haven't read those things. Some of you probably have and can attest to that. So very, very cool. You shall have at the beckoning abilities that you cannot currently fully comprehend, and this is coming. So cool. But in the beginning, I would encourage yourselves to be open to the hearing of the sometimes small and the sometimes focused voice of another being, unspoken, repeating, and cataloging within your own mind these occurrences as something meaningful. And so this is that idea of trying to be in presence as much as we possibly can, right? Of being receptive and trying to be that fertile soil so that if something does come our way, it will land and we can hear it. And so I think, I think it's unrealistic for us to expect ourselves to be in that perfect state of readiness all the time. But maybe when we're talking to someone, we can try to be that open, fertile soil. When we're with another person, we can try our best to keep bringing ourselves back to the present moment and to stop thinking about what we're going to say next, or stop thinking about how what they said just reminded me that I need to go to the grocery store. Like just trying to be that open, receptive field as they are speaking, not trying to squeeze or grab onto the telepathic communication, but just trying to be in a state where if it happens, we are listening, whole body listening to perceive it. And then maybe it will, right? And so I think that's the goal for us, especially starting now with what's happening in the sky as a reflection. We are ready. We're ready to do this. So then she says, as something of a whisper of what is to understand these occurrences as something meaningful, as something of a whisper of what is to come. This is only the beginning of what is happening from within each of you. You are stretching yourselves into a greater expression for humanity than has yet been felt, and I am delighted for you. I say bless you, I say thank you, and goodbye. Yeah. So, I mean, so even reading it again, I think I'm more excited reading it through like the fourth time than I was in the beginning. Because I'm getting more out of it. But this idea at the end here where she's saying, like, hey, this is a whisper of like, this sounds incredible to us, having this ability to hear things in this new way sounds incredible to us. And she says, you think that's good? That is literally a whisper of what's coming. So, like, so much more is in store for you. And it's not that far off, It really isn't. And it's so exciting. And I love, love that she didn't tell us about this. This message didn't come 2 months ago. She told us now, right as we are in the middle, like tomorrow is when this astrology goes active. Like tomorrow is when this conjunction happens, or whatever it is, this thing that happens with the North Node and Mercury. It's tomorrow. And so, like, how beautiful for us. It's not like we have to wait forever to get to open the present. Like, here you go, here's your present. And it turns on tomorrow. And then it's not just once, it's at that point, and it's not as if the stars are dictating what happens to us. She's saying this is a reflection of the fact that we are ready. This is a reflection of the fact that we have attained this degree of receptivity. And so it will be ours going forward. I really also love that in this message, she spelled out so clearly how this will develop over time so that we can be excited about every step. It's not going to be a thing where we have this incredible experience of hearing something that someone didn't say and then feel sad that we didn't have the full mesh experience, because we understand this is if you talk to somebody and they experience it differently, you're like, that's amazing, because this is a progression. We're going one step, and we now know the real thing is not even the telepathy. It is speaking to ourselves, right? That's the end goal. The speaking with and having clarity with our external communication with people outside of ourselves is the pathway to having the clear communication inside of ourselves, where we develop this full telepathy with all that is, and where we're in this seamless communication with spirit, which sounds just amazing, just amazing. And yes, I can channel. Like, you're like, well, don't you already have that? Well, no, because I have to go into a deep trance, and I am not there. When I'm in a deep trance, I'm like over there somewhere. So yeah, it's not the same. There's moments where we all have our connection. There's moments, I'm sure, in your lives where you have felt so unmistakably guided, and you may get that kind of where source or your guides are speaking right into your lives. And that's amazing. But imagine if it was just as easy as talking to me right now. Like, if it was just as no big deal to be like, yeah, I have a question. Ooh, there's my answer, because I just plugged into Google Spirit, and I got my answer instantly, because that's what I do, and that's where we're headed, which is so, so cool. So yeah, so I think the big action step from this message is this full body listening, is to try to really see every moment that we have where we're in a conversation with others as a moment to practice this full body presence and listening, and not with the expectation, right? Because I think expectations are going to squeeze it, so it can't happen. We got to relax and be open and receptive and just be present and not think about telepathy. And it's only by not watching the pot that it will boil. So that is, I think, our challenge to step into, but to know, hey, we have the capacities here. We are there. The stars say so. They say that we are here. Thank you so much for being here. It was amazing to spend this time together. I really, really appreciate the incredible conversation. Sending you so much love. And I'll see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys.